I'm Trevor, and I've come to realize betrayal doesn't always come crashing through the door. Sometimes it creeps in slowly, like a silent gas leak, undetectable until the moment it ignites everything you've built. Nancy and I were married for 6 years. The first 3 were solid, maybe even beautiful. We had our little routines. Morning coffee together, lazy movie nights, shared inside jokes that made us feel like the world couldn't touch us. But life has a way of chipping at foundations when you're not looking. It didn't fall apart overnight. No big fights. No screaming matches. Just a slow drift, like we were turning into polite strangers sharing a home. She got a big promotion, more money, more responsibilities, and longer hours. I didn't question it. I was proud of her. Supportive. I'd ask, "Big meeting today?" as she rushed out the door. She barely glanced back, muttering, "Yeah, huge." Mornings shrank into quick grunts and door clicks. Her laughter faded. Her touch disappeared. And the only time she seemed genuinely happy was when she was glued to her phone, fingers flying across the screen in secret little smiles. I stayed quiet, kept the house running, did the chores, filled the silence with hope. Then the baby conversation stalled. We'd been trying for a while, but suddenly she stopped tracking her cycle, skipped doctor appointments. When I asked gently if she still wanted a child, she shrugged and said, "Let's not force it." That broke something in me, not just the words, but the way she said them, detached, like she'd already left me in her heart, but forgot to pack her bags. Then, just as I began preparing myself for the end, she changed. One evening, she walked in with takeout from my favorite restaurant, kissed me softly, and said, "I missed you." That night, she curled up next to me, warm and tender, like the version of her I thought I'd lost. I should have questioned it, but I didn't. I was starving for her love, and this was a feast. She kept it up. Laughter returned. Flirty texts in the middle of the day. Sweet notes tucked into my lunch. Morning kisses. Candlelit dinners. It was almost too perfect. And that's when my instincts stirred. One night, after a home-cooked meal, she sat me down, hands trembling, and placed a pregnancy test on the table. "It's positive," she whispered. I smiled, nodded, said all the right things, but something inside me cracked, because we hadn't been trying. We hadn't even talked about it again. And a voice, cruel and quiet, whispered, "Is it even yours?" She didn't want to tell anyone yet. Said she wanted to wait until the first scan. Claimed it was out of caution. I agreed, but not because I understood. I was already unraveling inside. The timing felt too neat, too calculated. I went back, did the math, replayed those reconnection nights. Something didn't sit right. Her phone became a fortress, always in her hand. Notification silenced, screen tilted away. The passcode had changed. She smiled less when I was near it. It wasn't enough to accuse her, but it was enough to watch her differently. I called her sister Maya, asked her to meet for coffee. I kept my tone casual. "How's Nancy been lately?" Maya sighed, distant, says work's been heavy. I asked if she mentioned anyone in particular. Maya hesitated, then said, "Curtis, her manager. She used to talk about him all the time. Stories, funny stuff." Then poof, nothing. That name echoed. I remembered it. Curtis. She had mentioned him casually once or twice. But then he vanished from her vocabulary. And people don't erase names from their lives unless they're trying to erase the memory attached. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind raced through every odd moment, every sudden laugh over a text, every missed look. The next day, I found her old tablet buried in a closet box. I took it to a tech shop and asked them to recover deleted files. They worked fast. An hour later, I had it back. I sat in my car, tablet in hand, heart pounding, not because I feared the truth, but because I already knew it. I sat in the car, the tablet resting on my lap, fingers trembling as I scrolled. It didn't take long. Texts, photos, plans. Curtis, his name peppered through conversations laced with intimacy and secrecy. Then I found a message that stopped me cold, a single thread from a month before she told me she was pregnant. "I'm late. You sure it's not his? We haven't touched in weeks. It's yours. My vision blurred. Everything made sense in the worst possible way. The affection she'd so suddenly returned with wasn't real. It was calculated, manufactured intimacy. Her warmth, her laughter, her "I miss you" moments, they weren't born from love. They were part of a carefully constructed alibi, a performance in case questions were asked. My anger didn't explode. It crystallized into resolve. I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't cry. I'd end it on my terms, and she would face what she'd done, not behind closed doors, but in front of everyone. A few days later, I floated the idea over dinner. What do you think about a baby shower? I asked casual, just something small. Close friends. Family. Her eyes lit up with delight. You planned that, she said, almost tearfully. I smiled. Of course. Let's keep it simple. You deserve it. She squeezed my hand, utterly unaware. I picked a soft theme. Emailed decorators. Chose cakes and invites. I smiled through her chatter about balloon colors and gift registries. But behind the scenes, I was working with a lawyer. We gathered everything, screenshots, message logs, timelines. We drafted the divorce papers. The cause, adultery, deception, emotional abandonment. The night before the shower, I printed the key texts and tucked them neatly into an envelope. The morning of, I set up the tables, arranged flowers, greeted guests, played the doting husband, every move deliberate. Nancy glowed that day, called me babe, touched my arm like we were still something real. The cake arrived. People clapped. She stood next to me, hand on her belly, smiling for photos like the world was perfect. Say something, someone called out laughing. I stepped forward. My voice was calm, smooth. Thanks for being here. It's always special to celebrate, even when things aren't exactly what they seem. The room shifted. Confused glances, faint murmurs. I pulled the envelope from my pocket. This is for Nancy. She chuckled nervously. What's this? I handed it to her. Her fingers hesitated, then slowly pulled out the papers. The room fell into silence. The first page held the divorce filing. The next, screenshots of the text, her words to Curtis, the confirmation of the affair, the doubt about the baby. Color drained from her face. Her hands trembled. Trevor, she whispered, eyes wide, pleading. Read it, I said. Quiet, firm. She couldn't, wouldn't. So I turned to the room. The child isn't mine. It's her boss's. The man she's been sleeping with for over a year. Gasps. Shuffling chairs. People frozen, not sure where to look. Nancy stepped toward me, voice cracking. Please, not like this. I took a step back. I'm done talking. I looked at her parents, still stunned, then back to her. I hope he shows up for you, because I won't. And with that, I walked out. That night, I checked into a hotel, turned off my phone. By morning, it was full of voicemails, friends, Maya, everyone except Nancy. I went home a few days later. She was gone. Clothes, photos, her scent vanished. No note, just silence. But this time, it wasn't cruel. It felt like peace. The divorce went through quickly. She signed without protest. Maya reached out later, said Nancy would stay with a friend, that she was falling apart. She's sorry, Maya told me softly. I smiled, bitter but calm. She's not sorry she did it. She's sorry she got caught. Months passed. I moved into a smaller place. Started hiking again. Hit the gym. The silence in my life wasn't haunting anymore. It was healing. Friends checked in. I told them I was doing fine. And I meant it. Winning didn't mean ruining her. It meant reclaiming myself. Leaving without rage, without scenes. Just truth and distance. And sometimes that's enough. Crossing the bridge alone. Steady, never looking back.